Hey babes, how's everyone doing? I felt something on me. I shed like a dog with the change of seasons and my hair is just falling out all over the place and I had a hair on me. I'm like, what is that tickling me? How y'all doing? So I had posted something about moving and I had a place lined up and it fell through because people are crazy. People don't like to tell the truth anymore. I don't know what's happening in the world. It's quite appalling, really, quite appalling. I couldn't help but think today on my hike, if we were all anchored in, rooted, and as strong as resilient as a tree, what a different world this would be, you know? But a lot of people just aren't anchored in. They don't have an anchor. They don't have support. They're not grounded. And that really is like a root cause thing that's not often talked about. And a lot of that does, is sourced from trauma, some type of trauma in their life. A lot of times it starts in childhood. But you can incur trauma at any point in time. And then it's not just incurring the trauma, it's how it's digested and metabolized, how it's perceived, right? Because our thoughts are pretty powerful. Although you can't think your way out of trauma, it's a lot of times the victim will internalize being the bad guy because they were told for so long that they're the bad guy. I think the statistic in domestic violence is that it takes a woman like 8 or 10 years to finally leave, or no, like 8 attempts. It's something like that. I mean, that's a significant amount, like 8 or 10 attempts to like finally do it. But anyway, that's just a really off the cusp thing. But I think about some wild things when I'm hiking. I had a really beautiful hike this morning and there was just this one tree that I fell in love with and it was so deeply rooted and it just like the energy coming off this tree felt amazing. And those are the thoughts that I started to have. I mean, there are a lot of people in the world flailing. And I'm not pointing fingers or blaming. I'm just saying that's the reality of what's happening. So, if we all held the qualities of a tree, deep down in the inner structures of our DNA and our humanity, we might have a little bit of a different reality that we're seeing out in the greater landscape, in the macro. I really don't want to address this, but I feel compelled. I love this therapist from the UK. She really very much in alignment with my thoughts on a lot of things. And she really does a great job of getting people to take better responsibility, like radical responsibility for their life and to get out of the blaming, even if you were the one victimized, and how to get yourself to come up out of that and build inner resilience, etc. I think a lot of it is targeted to the younger population that is much more me-based, which I've talked about in several other videos. And she posted something about what's happening with Palestine and Israel. And I used to be that person that would post incessantly of like prayers and this is horrific, and it is horrific. I can't even imagine. Oddly enough, one of my guests at the young adult program is from Israel. She flew to North Carolina from Israel for a young adult wellness retreat. And I think about her and her family every day. All of this happened maybe 2 weeks after she had flown back to Israel. I've never had such a close encounter with that part of the world. I had never really met anyone and become intimate with someone, being somebody's teacher for, 3 weeks. I think I was her teacher. And we got along very well, so there's like this new intimate personal connection for me. But these atrocities, I can't even imagine these babies, what these mothers are enduring. It's just terrible. And what this therapist from the UK was saying was like how humanity has failed. I'm not disagreeing with that. But she was almost coming down hard on the fact that, like, well, everybody's just going on with their life. And I was reading some of the comments and somebody was like, yeah, we're just getting up and brushing our teeth and it's life as usual. And I used to be that person and I used to say things like that. But what is the expectation? I mean, unless you're a therapist like her who's extremely popular, she has a very strong following, and you're going on and you're offering solutions. But it was more like her venting, which I get, she has every right to, and it is terrible. And then, you know, how awful us humans are, but there was no solution. It's not like any of us can get on a plane and go over there unless we're like a journalist covering the story, right? There's not much that we can do except cleaning up our own backyard. And that seems almost like an excuse to not take action, or it seems too simple, or it seems almost harsh and heartless. But the only thing we could do as a human being is clean up our own backyard, get ourselves well, create a strong family unit, be a good person in the world. I think prayer is powerful. A lot of people say prayer is passive. They need our prayers. Prayer might be passive in essence, in terms of like going there and, I don't know, kicking whoever's butt. Like, I don't understand what people like her, they're going on social media and they're angry at us as an entity. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? We can send over care packages, right? We can make donations and be careful with that because there are people who, you know, will take advantage. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But I think prayer is powerful. I don't think it's as passive as people make it be in this type of circumstance. There's not really much that we can do. I would analogize it to, you know, those that have listened to my channel. I have lost many people in my life. And everyone is there for you, right? There's casseroles, who's ordering pizza, who's baking pies, who's making desserts, who's offering to take care of your kids. What can we do for you? You've got your doorbell ringing off the hook, people walking in and out of the door. Can I stay with you? And then it all ends. And their lives go on. And you're still in an enormous amount of pain. What are they supposed to do? They have their own world to tend to. To me, it's similar, not in nature of the atrocities, but in the natural evolution of how severe trauma like this plays out. You know, not everybody can stay and hold your hand after you've buried your child or your brother or your sister or your son or your daughter or your, you know, mother or your father or whoever, your best friend. Their lives are gonna go on. And, you know, there's gonna be a lot of eerie, awful, horrific silence and solitude in your grief for a hot minute. And that is the reality of the grieving process. You know, most people are not gonna stand by your side and hold your hand through it beyond that beginning point, because they have their own stuff to tend to. And so although I really respect this woman and I validate everything that she posted on Instagram, this is horrific. And if you don't think that what's happening over there doesn't affect us as a whole, you're very, very wrong. And a lot of us, I think, are feeling it and don't even realize it. But at the end of the day, we can only do so much as, you know, one human being. And I really believe, collectively speaking, when you as the individual are truly being your best self and putting the best intentions and the best of your energy out into the world, that really does help the collective a lot. And if anyone has any other ideas of how to support, you know, the people out there, I'm open to that. But I'm just saying, sinking in the grief of it all, sinking into the darkness and the horrors that are happening in the world is not helpful to anyone, especially not your family unit, especially not yourself. And so I wanted to address that a little bit. I also posted something about moving. So I just said that fell through. I said that earlier. We're supposed to sign a 6-month lease. I really don't want to. So they're giving me the opportunity to sign a 3-month lease. And if I can, get out before then, I will. Things aren't great, but I'm a big girl and I can handle myself. So it's all good. Not complaining because, there's bigger fish to fry. But anyway, I just wanted to address that. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And again, what are the solutions? I'm very ignorant to what's exactly happening out there. I admit that. I don't understand it all, but I know that it's awful and I know that it's horrible. And we all want better for each other. I do believe that. But anywho, I love you all to pieces. Talk to you soon.